My name is Mama Victor. When I look back at my life today, I realize something. Maybe my destiny was written with hardship from the very beginning. But at the same time, I know that these hardships shaped me into the woman I am now. I was born in a small village. We were 7 children in total. We didn't have a proper house, not even proper food. Many days, my mother had nothing but a handful of beans or maize, and that had to be stretched for all of us. Some nights we went to sleep with only water in our bellies, just to quiet the pain of hunger. My childhood was not filled with toys or laughter. It was filled with labor and survival. At a young age, I was already cutting grass in the fields, fetching firewood, and washing dishes in other people's homes just to help my mother keep us alive. While other girls played, I had blisters on my hands from hard work, but I never complained. I knew if I didn't work, the fire in our cooking pot would not burn. As I grew older, people began to say I was beautiful, but beauty does not put food on the table. I had no new clothes, no jewelry, nothing that girls my age dreamed of. Even on my wedding day, I wore an old wrapper, patched in many places. Yet I told my mother, "Mama, don't worry. The cloth doesn't matter. What matters is the destiny that waits ahead." That's how my marriage began. My husband, he was a simple, hard-working man. And maybe that was the greatest blessing of my life, that I got a husband who respected me. We were poor, yes, but we were happy together. Sometimes he would say, "My wife, we may not have riches, but we have the treasure of love." And I would smile and answer, "Yes, and that treasure will carry us forward." Soon I gave birth to Victor, my first son. The moment I saw him, tiny and innocent, I prayed, "Oh God, give this child a life longer than mine. Let him be my joy and my strength." Later, I gave birth to my daughter, Joy. With a boy and a girl, my small home felt complete. But happiness does not last forever. My husband worked as a laborer, doing whatever jobs he could find. Every morning he left before sunrise, and every evening he returned, tired but smiling. We never dreamed of wealth. Our only dream was simple: to raise our children well, to shield them from the hunger we had known. Then came the day that shattered my world. My husband was involved in an accident on the Benin-Or road. He never came home again. When the news reached me, it felt as if the earth had opened beneath my feet. I collapsed to the ground, unable to breathe. My heart, my companion, my shelter, gone in a single moment. I remember standing over his body, wrapped in white cloth, about to be buried. The father of my children, gone forever. My little Victor, still just a boy, clung to my hand and cried, "Mama, don't cry. When I grow up, I will take care of you." Those words pierced my heart like a knife. I could hardly believe such a burden was falling on such a small child. After his death, life became a battlefield for me. I swore an oath to myself. My children would never sleep hungry. I sold firewood. I smoked and sold fish. I washed other people's clothes. I hawked food under the hot sun. I did anything, everything, to keep them alive. I walked barefoot on rough roads. I sweated under the burning sun. I shivered under the rain. But I never let my children's lips cry from hunger. Many times my stomach was empty, but I lied to my children, saying, "Don't worry, I already ate. You go ahead and eat." The truth was, I gave them my portion and stayed hungry. That was my vow. Even if I had to beg, my children would never beg. After my husband's death, I became both father and mother to my children. There were nights I sat awake until morning, staring at their sleeping faces, wondering how I would pay their school fees, how I would buy their next meal. The world outside was cold, but inside, that little room where we stayed, I wanted to create warmth for my children. Victor was my first fruit, my pride. Even as a small boy, he showed signs of intelligence. He would sit with his books, murmuring as if he was speaking to the letters. His teacher once told me, "Madam, this your son is brilliant. If you invest in him, he will go far." Those words became fire in my heart. I told myself, even if I have to break stones with my hands, I will make sure this boy goes to school. Joy, my daughter, was the tender one. Always smiling, always singing. Even when there was no food, she would dance around, clapping her hands, saying, "Mama, don't worry. One day God will surprise us." Her laughter was medicine to my tired bones. But it was not easy. Oh, my dear, it was not easy. I woke up before dawn to fry akara by the roadside. The oil burned my skin, leaving scars that I still carry today. By midday, I rushed to Uselu Market to sell smoked fish. The smoke stung my eyes until they turned red. My wrapper always smelled of fish, and sometimes people mocked me, but I didn't care. Do you know why? Because every coin I made was for Victor and Joy. Sometimes when there was no money for school fees, I went from one cooperative society to another, begging them for small loans. They would give me money, but with heavy interest. Many nights I cried, but every time I saw Victor holding his book, reading under the dim lantern light, I told myself, when Victor finished secondary school, I thought the battle was half won. But that was only the beginning of a bigger mountain. He passed his exams well, and people in the neighborhood said, "Mama, Victor, your son is brilliant. He will go far." Those words gave me joy, but they also gave me fear. Because brilliance without money is like a bird with broken wings. It cannot fly. When Victor got admission into Ambrose Alley University to study business administration, I was both happy and terrified. Happy because my son had a chance to escape poverty. Terrified because I had no money to pay the fees. The day the admission letter arrived, Victor came running to me with tears in his eyes. "Mama, I got it. I got admission." He hugged me so tightly that I could hardly breathe. I laughed, but in my heart I was crying. Because I knew that admission was not only a door for him, it was a mountain for me. That very week, I started running from house to house, from one cooperative society to another. I begged, I borrowed, I even sold my small gold earrings, the last gift my husband gave me before he died. Every coin went into paying Victor's first school fees. I still remember the day I traveled with him to the university. I had only one wrapper and one blouse. I tied my wrapper tight, put his few belongings into a small Ghana must-go bag, and followed him. Other mothers brought their sons with cars, suitcases, and fine clothes. My Victor had only a few shirts and trousers, but I held my head high, because I knew what I had carried on my back to reach that day. As we entered the school compound, I whispered a prayer. "Oh God, I have planted my seed. Let it grow and bear fruit." Victor settled in, and I returned home to my hustle. From that day, my life was tied to his education. School fees, hostel rent, textbooks, everything was like a mountain. Many times I had to borrow with heavy interest. There were weeks I ate only once a day just to save money for him. I still remember one painful day. Victor called me on the phone. "Mama, they won't allow me to write exams unless I pay the balance of my fees." I had no money, nothing, not even 50 naira in my pocket. That night, I cried like a baby. I beat my chest and asked God, "Why did you give me a son if I cannot provide for him? Why should he suffer because of me?" The next morning, I carried a basin of smoked fish and walked from Uselu to New Benin, selling under the hot sun until my legs shook. When I counted the money, it was still not enough. I swallowed my pride and went to one rich woman I sometimes washed clothes for. I begged her to lend me money. She looked at me with disdain, but finally gave me some, after reminding me, "If you don't pay back in 2 months, I will scatter your name in this town." I bowed my head and said, "Thank you, madam." With that money, I sent Victor what he needed. That night, when he called and said, "Mama, I have paid. Thank you. God will bless you," my heart felt lighter. But my body carried the scars of those sacrifices. My palms became rough from firewood. My back bent from carrying loads. My eyes turned red from smoke. Yet whenever Victor came home on holidays, I forgot all the pain. He would sit beside me and say, "Mama, don't worry. When I finish school, you will rest. I will build you a house. I will buy you slippers so you won't walk barefoot again." Those words were like medicine to my soul. Years passed, And finally, the day of his graduation came. I wore the same native cloth I had worn to his matriculation. By then, it was old and faded, but I washed it and ironed it with care. When I walked into the hall, people stared at me, but I lifted my head high. When Victor's name was called, I stood up and clapped until my palms burned. Tears rolled down my face. I remembered all the nights of hunger, all the days of carrying loads, all the insults I had endured. And in that moment, it felt worth it. As he collected his certificate, I whispered to myself, "Finally, Mama Victor, your son will wipe your tears." I did not know then that the same son, the one I suffered for, the one I carried on my back and breastfed with my own blood, would one day be the one to break me the most. When Victor graduated, I thought my days of suffering were finally coming to an end. I told myself, "Mama Victor, you will soon rest. All your sweat, all your tears will now bear fruit." For weeks after his graduation, I walked around Yuzulu Market with a lighter step. The women who used to mock me said, "Mama Victor, your son is now a graduate. Very soon he will get a big job and buy you a car." I smiled at them, though inside, I was already dreaming of smaller things. Not a car, not a mansion, just peace. Just to stop waking up at 4 a.m. to fry a kara. Just to rest these tired bones of mine. But reality has a way of breaking dreams. After his NYSC service year, Victor came home. For the first few weeks, he was excited, talking about the many jobs he would apply for. Every day, he polished his shoes, ironed his shirts, and set out with his brown envelope filled with applications. Each evening, he came home with hope still in his eyes. "Mama, one bank promised to call me. Mama, I heard one oil company is recruiting." I believed him. I prayed for him. I even fasted, asking God to open doors for my son. But days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months, and the calls never came. At first, Victor still laughed with me, still sat outside in the evenings to talk. But slowly, I noticed a change. His laughter disappeared. His eyes became darker, heavier. One evening, he sat in the parlor without light, his head in his hands. "Mama," he said, his voice low, "I am tired. I don't know what else to do." I went to him, placed my hand on his shoulder, and whispered, "Son, don't give up. Delay is not denial. Your time will come." But my words did not reach him anymore. He stopped going out often. When his friends came to visit, I noticed the difference between them and my son. Some of them already had cars, flashy clothes, new phones. They spoke of building houses, traveling abroad. Whenever they left, Victor would sit quietly, staring at the floor, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with envy. One day, he burst out angrily, "Mama, do you know how it feels to be a man with no money in his pocket? To watch your mates succeed while you can't even buy yourself a shoe?" His voice shook with frustration. I tried to calm him. "My son, life is not the same for everyone. Don't envy another person's journey. Yours will come in God's time." But patience does not fill an empty stomach. Another day, he told me, "Mama, sometimes I wish I was never born. What's the use of education if it cannot feed me?" Those words pierced my heart. I held his hands and said, "Victor, don't ever say that again. You are my first fruit. You are the reason I am still alive." He smiled faintly, but the smile did not reach his eyes. It was the smile of a stranger. As months turned into 2 long years, the bitterness inside him grew like a disease. He avoided me, avoided joy, avoided the church. Sometimes he stayed out late, returning with a smell I did not recognize. I feared he was keeping bad company. I begged him, "Victor, please, don't lose yourself. God is watching. Your story will change." But my son had stopped listening to me. He looked at me one night and said words I will never forget. "Mama, prayers cannot put food on the table. I need money, not hope." Those words felt like stones thrown at my chest. I looked at him, tall and strong like his late father, and I wondered, where had my son gone? What had life done to him? I tried to keep him close, I cooked for him. I reminded him of his father's value. I begged him to hold on, but deep inside, I could see the darkness swallowing him. And I was powerless. I thought the worst pain in life was burying a husband. I did not know that a deeper pain was watching your own child lose himself before your eyes. It was a Tuesday evening. The market had been tough that day. I had sat under the hot sun for hours, the smoke from my fish burning my eyes. But still, I managed to sell most of it. By the time I packed up, my body was aching all over. I boarded a keke from Yuzlu Market to the junction near our street. As I stepped down, balancing my heavy basket of smoked fish on my head, I thought only of one thing: to reach home, wash my tired feet, and lie down. But fate had another plan. Just as I adjusted my basket, a small bus screeched to a stop in front of me. Before I could even understand what was happening, 4 men jumped out. One of them shouted, "Enter inside!" I froze. My heart stopped. Another rushed at me, covering my mouth with a cloth that smelled sharp, bitter, like poison. I tried to scream, but my voice was swallowed by the cloth. I kicked, I scratched, I struggled with all the strength in my bones. But I was no match for them. They dragged me into the bus. My basket of smoked fish fell to the ground, scattering across the road. People shouted from a distance, but the bus sped away into the darkness before anyone could help me. Inside the bus, they pressed me down, tying my hands and legs. My chest pounded like a drum. I could hardly breathe. My head felt heavy. Then, darkness. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the floor of a small room. My wrists and ankles were tied with ropes that cut into my skin. My mouth was gagged with a dirty cloth. The room was hot, suffocating. The zinc roof trapped the heat like fire. Mosquitoes buzzed in my ears, biting me all over. The smell of dampness and sweat filled the air. At first, I thought it was a nightmare. I blinked, hoping I would wake up in my bed. But no, it was real. Soon, I heard voices outside, rough, angry voices. One said, "This woman no get plenty money, yo. Na market woman she be." Another replied, "Na her son talk, say she go bring money. She go find am." My heart froze. My son? Which son? Did I hear correctly? Before I could think further, 3 men stormed into the room. Their eyes were red, their faces hard like stone. 2 carried machetes, 1 carried a gun. The one with the gun barked at me. "Old woman, better call your people to bring 2 million. If dem no pay, na bush we go throw your body." 2 million? My ears rang. My stomach dropped. In my whole life, I had never seen 200,000 in one place, let alone 2 million. Tears poured down my face. I shook my head, trying to explain. "Please, I don't have such money. I sell fish in the market." Before I could finish, one of them slapped me hard across the face. My head spun. "Shut up. Now your son talk say you not get money. You go find am. If not, you go die here." My whole body trembled. They shoved a phone into my hand, untied my mouth. "Call your family. Tell them to bring the money." With shaking hands, I dialed Joy's number. My voice cracked as I spoke. "Joy, my daughter, they have kidnapped me." Before I could say more, one of the men snatched the phone and shouted instructions into it, demanding money. Then he cut the call and locked the door. The room fell silent again. That night, I cried until my chest ached. I begged God to save me. I begged the ground to swallow me. I begged even the mosquitoes biting me to carry my prayers to heaven. But all I had was silence. And in that silence, fear sat on my chest like a heavy stone. I thought the slap and the ropes were the worst pain I could ever feel. I thought nothing could break me more than being beaten and humiliated like a common thief. But I was wrong. Because what broke me was not the rope on my hands, not the gun pointed at my face. What broke me was the voice I heard next. It was midnight. The room was dark except for a lantern that flickered on the floor, casting shadows on the walls. I lay there, half asleep, my stomach rumbling with hunger, my body sore from the ropes. Then I heard footsteps. Heavy, slow, familiar. The door creaked open. A figure stepped inside. At first, I thought my eyes were deceiving me. The man stepped closer, and the lantern light caught his face. My heart stopped. It was Victor, my son. I blinked, hoping it was a dream. I blinked again, but no, it was him. His shoulders, his eyes, the scar on his chin he got when he fell as a little boy. "Victor," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Victor, my son." For a moment, I thought he had come to rescue me. I thought he had found where they kept me and had risked his life to save his mother. My chest swelled with hope. But then, he smiled. Not the smile of my little boy who used to run into my arms. Not the smile of a son who loved his mother. Number. It was a cold smile, a stranger's smile. "Mama," he said, his voice low, almost mocking. "So you day here. You go suffer small, then you go bring money." My ears rang. I shook my head violently. "Victor, what are you saying? You are with them?" He looked at me with no shame, no fear, no regret. "Yes, Mama. I be the one way plan everything. Na me. Because life don't tire me. You know if he help me. So now you go help me by force." Tears gushed out of my eyes. "Victor, I gave you everything. I sold fish under the hot sun. I carried load on my head. I ate gari so you could eat rice. I sent you to school. I prayed for you every night. Victor, I carried you in my womb for 9 months. And you did this to me?" He didn't flinch. "Mama, all those things no matter again. You no fit give me what I want now. The world is wicked, so I must be wicked too. You go call Joy, she go find money. If not, you go die here." At that moment, something inside me cracked. My heart didn't just break, it turned to dust. I looked at my son, and I did not see the little boy I raised. I did not see the boy who used to cling to my wrapper. I saw a stranger, a monster. I begged him with all the strength left in my body. "Victor, please, don't do this. If you need money, we will find a way. I will work harder. I will sell more fish. But don't destroy yourself like this. Don't destroy me." But he turned away. "Mama, not too late. The deal don't start. Pray say Joy bring the money fast." And he walked out, slamming the door behind him. That night, I lay on the cold floor, and I wept like I had never wept before. My tears flowed until there was no water left in me. I called God's name again and again, but the heavens were silent. I realized then that the ropes on my hands were not the real bondage. The real bondage was the pain of knowing my own son had become my enemy. And that was heavier than any chain. I thought it was the end for me. But far away, my daughter Joy was fighting a battle I didn't even know about. When the kidnappers forced me to call her, my voice was weak, trembling. I couldn't even finish my words before they grabbed the phone from me. But in that short second, Joy heard enough. She heard my fear. She heard the danger in my voice. That night, she didn't sleep. Later, she told me what she went through. She said she fell on the floor crying, screaming, "They've taken my mother. They've taken my only mother." Neighbors gathered. Some told her to stay calm. Others shook their heads in pity. But Joy refused to sit down. She refused to give up. She ran to the police station, barefoot, tears streaming down her face. "Please," she begged. "My mother has been kidnapped. Please help me." At first, they looked at her like she was just another poor girl with another poor woman's problem. You know how they behave sometimes. Slow, lazy, asking unnecessary questions. But Joy didn't let go. She knelt on the ground. She held their boots. She cried from her belly. She told them everything she knew. And when she mentioned one name, their ears opened. That name was Victor. She said, "My brother is involved. I heard them say it. My brother planned it." The officer in charge raised his eyebrows. Your brother? Are you sure? Joy wiped her tears and nodded firmly. Yes, I am sure. He is with them. Please, you must act fast. If you delay, they will kill her. Her boldness surprised them. Maybe it was God's hand. Maybe it was the fire in her spirit. But something moved in those men. They began to take her seriously. They traced the number that had called Joy. They called again, pretending to be willing to pay the ransom. They played along, setting up a trap. Meanwhile, Joy ran back home and gathered neighbors, friends, church members. She cried into their shoulders, begging them to pray, begging them to contribute even the smallest money so at least she could buy time with the kidnappers. And all this while, I was locked in that room, sweating, tied, thinking I was alone. But God was already using my daughter as my warrior. 3 days passed, 3 days of torture. They gave me only water in a dirty plastic bottle. They mocked me. They threatened me with their cutlasses. One even pressed the blade against my neck. But on the 4th night, something shifted. I heard shouting outside. I heard boots stomping. I heard gunshots. Police! Everybody down! The door burst open. Bright torchlights blinded me. Strong arms lifted me up. Someone shouted, Mama, you are safe now. We've got you. I collapsed in their arms. I was too weak to even speak. All I could whisper was one word. Joy. Joy. Where is my daughter? And then I heard her voice. Mama! I turned my head, and there she was. My little girl, my Joy, crying, running towards me. She fell on her knees, holding my hands, kissing my face again and again. Mama, I thought I lost you. Mama, I prayed. I begged God. I begged everyone. I held her as tight as the ropes would allow. My tears fell into her hair. In that moment, I knew. The devil used one child to break me. But God used another child to save me. When they rescued me, I thought the nightmare was over. But the worst part was still ahead. Because 2 days later, the police called me. Mama, we caught some of them, they said. You need to come. I went there with trembling legs, Joy by my side. My heart was beating like a drum. And then, I saw him. Victor, my son. My first fruit, my pride, my pain. But he was not standing tall like the man I once admired. He was sitting on the ground, his hands in handcuffs, his face hard but empty. When our eyes met, my whole body shook. I wanted to scream, I wanted to run, but I just stood there, frozen. Mama, he said softly, almost whispering. It was not the voice of a kidnapper anymore. It was the voice of my little boy, the boy who once held my hand at his father's funeral. Tears rolled down my face. Victor, I whispered. Why? He lowered his head. Mama, I was tired. I was angry. I wanted money. I didn't think it would hurt this much. Hurt? He didn't think? How could my own child not think that kidnapping his mother would tear her soul apart? The officer beside him shook his head. Madam, this boy will face the law. He must face what he has done. My heart shattered again, because in that moment, I knew I had lost him forever. I cried until my chest felt like fire. I cried not just because of the rope and the slap and the hunger. I cried because of the betrayal. The wound my son left in me was deeper than death. And yet, do you know what is strange? Even after everything, even after the humiliation, even after hearing him confess, my heart still whispered, "He is your son." I wanted him to rot in prison, yet I wanted to hold him. I wanted to hate him, yet I wanted to forgive him. That night, I lay on my bed and I asked God one question over and over again. How do you forgive the child that tried to sell you? And the answer came to me, slowly, painfully. You don't forgive because they deserve it. You forgive because your heart cannot carry hate forever. So today, I tell this story not just as a warning, but as a prayer. Mothers, fathers, watch your children. Listen to their silence. Do not ignore their pain. The same child you feed can one day become the hand that strikes you. But also, do not let betrayal kill your spirit. Victor may have broken my trust, but he will never break my faith. Because as long as I have breath, I will pray for him. I am Mama Victor, and this is my story.